Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. Guide us this evening as we make our decisions. Christ name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, this is the September 24th, 2024 regular meeting of the Newnan City Council. You have the minutes from the regular meeting of September the 10th, 2024 before y'all entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. You also have the minutes from the work session of September the 10th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. We adopt the minutes from the work session of September 10th as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Ms. Jenkins, would you do us the honor of introducing the Newnan Youth Council members who are with us this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have with us tonight, and many of them are sophomores, so they don't know the routine. Please stand when I call your name. You don't have to say anything. We have Jordan Jackson, a sophomore at East Coweta High School. We have Maddie Ray Harris, a sophomore from Northgate. Cameron Stiles, sophomore, Northgate. Liam Mulford, junior, Newnan High. And Naomi Kraft, junior, East Coweta.
We appreciate you being in attendance tonight, and thank you for serving. The next item on the agenda are several appointments. The first is a bicentennial committee. Mr. Critco.
I'd like that on the next agenda, please.
All right, thank you. The next Christmas Commission, Ms. Jenkins.
Next agenda, please.
All right. The next two, the Ethics Commission, are mine. I would like to renominate Carrie Knight.
Second.
Motion second. We replace or continue Carrie Knight's service on the Ethics Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And also would like to reappoint Bob McCoon.
Second.
Motion, is there a second? Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The next, Mr. DeBose.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Bud Freeberg.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We continue the service of Bud Freeberg on the Ethics Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Mr. DeBose, you also have the next.
I do. I'd like to recommend Winston Skinner again.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Ms. Jenkins.
These two, we go next.
Thank you. Mr. Thomason.
I'd like to nominate Patrick McKee. Second.
All right. Motion and second. We nominate Patrick McKee for the Ethics Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Mr. Thomason, the next.
I'd like to renominate Dr. Rebecca Gibson. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Keep Newnan beautiful. Ms. Jenkins.
I'd like to appoint Constance Jordan.
Second.
Motion is second. We renominate Constance Jordan to the Keep Newnan Beautiful Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Mr. Guillaume.
I would like to reappoint Casey Child, please.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is second. Casey's Child to continue service on the Trees and Parks Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. And Youth Activities, Mr. Critco.
I'd like to appoint Mr. Vashton Smith, please.
All right.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you for all of those tonight. We also have, let's see, we're running through those. Mr. Phillips, you have anything this evening?
I do not, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, I don't have anything this evening. Under new business, we have a recognition of the fall 2024 Citizens Academy graduates. Adam, if you wouldn't mind telling our visitors here tonight what we're doing here, and I'll bring down the certificates.
All right, so twice a year, the City of Newnan provides a free program, the Newnan Citizen Academy, to city residents and business owners who are interested in learning about the functions of the city. So they met our elected officials, and then they toured all over the city of Newnan, our city facilities, and various departments.
Thank you. Ms. Head does a great job with that, and our public information office. The certificates tonight go to Abigail Alvarez.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alexis Taylor. And The next item on the agenda this evening, Ms. Kelsey has a presentation and recommendations for the MSI benefits for 2025, the City of Newnan Employee Benefits Program. I think we have a handout.
Have a PowerPoint. Just like to introduce to you John Leggett. He's with MSI Benefits Group. The city has worked with John and his company for a number of years now. Just as a reminder, MSI is our insurance broker. They specialize in group health insurance and related employee benefits. John tonight is going to provide a status report of where we are, our medical insurance and our other products that we have. He's also going to share with you what we're projecting for 2025. So with that, I'll turn it over to John.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Leggett, thank you
Good
for
evening,
being here.
Mayor,
Appreciate
Council.
it. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is the fifth time I've got to do this. I'm appreciative of that. So yes, I do have the PowerPoint on the screen, and you have printed copies in front of you. Again, I'm John Leggett with MSI Benefits Group. If you would go ahead and click to slide, I have it right here. Slide 3. So this is just, I like to recap what we did last year for this current year. And as you'll see, last year we renewed with Cigna. The final anticipated increase last year was just over 8%. There were no changes to the plans or employee deductions, and our anticipated annual increase was about $400,000 for the year, $399,301. Obviously, that's up for renewal. We'll get into that tonight. We changed dental carriers last year from Cigna to Delta Dental. That's a voluntary benefit. We also changed the vision coverage from Cigna to the standard. We changed from the basic life and disability coverage from MetLife to the standard. We changed our MetLife to Aflac on the supplemental benefits. And we also changed from the FSA administrator from Cigna to Admin America. So last year, lots of changes. This year, the only thing on the docket, the only thing up for renewal really is the medical. So that's the only thing we're looking at even potentially changing this year. I'd like to just kind of take the time to look and see how we're running for the year. So this is a month-by-month claim total. If you were to go through this, and I don't plan to go through all these lines, but you can see January through August, the city's plan year is January through December on a calendar year basis, and how are we running as compared to what was presented and budgeted for. And as you'll see, pharmacy spend is accounted for 23% of claims. We always like to look and see how that's running. It was the same in 2023. We've had our average monthly medical claims this year have been about 293,000. Looking at the prior years, it's down from 2023, so that's always good. It was a little bit lower in 22. Our average monthly RX claims are about 86,000, so they're actually down as well in 24 compared to 23. Total membership, we have about 277 average employees enrolled in the plan this year, about 715 total members, that's spouses and kids, and that's up from last year. So we've seen the enrollment grow a little bit. Our per employee per year 2024 budget total for the year was about $20,028, and currently we're running at about $18,642. So we're running about 7% better than expected. And right now we have about 282 employees enrolled in the health plan, and that's up 17 compared to last year. A lot of numbers on the next slide, really just to point out how the plans are running. So we like to track this on a monthly basis. As you know, the city has 3 plans. Employees can choose between 3 plans. We have a bronze, silver, and gold. There's a good mixture between the 3 plans, and we
Someone take that phone away from me.
Step us.
So we like to look and see how the 3 plans are running. If you're looking at the handout, it's kind of tough to see up there. Average, the plan expectation running, when we're self-funded like the city is and Cigna's administrator, you know, we have protection, we have aggregate protection, and generally speaking, we're going to budget for 80%. So we're going to run at 80% of the ag, and if you're running at 80 or below, then the plan's running well. So if you look at the bottom, it's kind of grayed out a little bit, but the bronze plan's running at about 62%, so it's running very well. The silver plan's running at just over 60%, again, running very well. And our gold plan is running right as expected, but running a little bit hotter than the other 2. Overall, we're running about 9% better so far through August than we projected for the year. That gets us into the next slide, which is the health plan. So as I mentioned, the city offers 3 medical plans to employees, bronze, silver, gold, a good mixture between. You can see the enrollment. We have 3-tier, as what we call 3-tier model. So it's employee only, employee plus 1, that could be a child or a spouse, and employee plus family, which would be 2 or more dependents. Currently, under option 1, those are what the employees are paying per paycheck, semi-monthly, twice a month. And the total that you see there, $432,000, that is what the city's collecting from employees. The deductions that are offered, the deductions that are in place now have not changed in about 4 or 5 years. So what you'll see is, if you look at, that's option 1. Option 2, looking at increasing the deductions slightly. And you can see what that looks like. So still paying 100% for employee only on the bronze, but the other deductions would go up slightly. And what that does is it takes the annual contributions from the employees from $432,000 to about $509,000, $510,000. And then what we also looked at was potentially eliminating the gold plan and just offering 2 plans. And I'll show you on the next slide, that doesn't lower the claim liability because it's a very rich plan. It's the highest level plan of the 3. But at the same time, by eliminate that plan, it eliminates what the employees are paying for it. So those employees are paying less. So you'll notice on the bottom, the $403,000 would be a lower total that the city would be collecting. On option 2, you know, if you look at that and you see, okay, somebody with family coverage on the gold plan, they're currently paying $166. That would potentially go to $190 if that's what the city elects to go with. However, they would obviously have the option to drop down to the silver plan and see their deduction go from $164 to $110. So the total deductions that you see for the year are based on current enrollment. We would expect some movement after open enrollment. Any questions on this slide? The next slide is our renewal options. You see current, and you'll see and the first thing I'll say is our administrative costs. What we pay to Cigna to administer the city's plan is not changing. They held the rates for the year, so there's no change there. 282 enrolled, 155,000 what the city is paying in administrative fees. The big piece of our self-insured plan is the stop loss. And when you see renewal, you see currently we're paying $526,000 annually. Cigna they were taking it up just over 10%, which would have been about $580,000. We pushed back on them, got them to drop that a bit. So instead of $580, it's $568. And the overall fixed cost, instead of 8%, we got them to take it down to just over 6%. When you go down below, you see we have the total deductions for employees, because that's subtracted out of the city's cost. And you see under our expected claim liability, this is another thing. Initially, Cigna was trying to increase our claim liability, which is how we budget, just about 1.6%. We got them to reduce that back down to no change. So when you go down, if you just focus under option 1, you see the fixed plus expected is just under 6.2. When you take out the employee deductions, you see our net totals $5,747,000, which is a projected cost change of about right at $72,000, or just over 1%. So option 1 is keeping employee deductions the same. Option 2, we say we're going to renew everything as is, but we're going to increase the deductions as shown on the previous slide. The overall cost of the city is essentially flat. It's a slight decrease, but you see that the employee deductions there going to $509. And then option 3, as I mentioned, eliminating the gold plan, you're lowering your claim liability, but you'd be taking in less deductions. So overall, it's really doesn't make a lot of sense to do that at this point. So I think it's really between option 1 and option 2, and I think option 2 is the recommended option after meeting with management and reviewing it all. Any questions on this slide?
Yes, please go back over, if you don't mind, the actual dollar number increase that, if we chose option 2, that would be the increase.
Correct,
to
yes,
the
I'm sorry.
employee.
So if you're looking at option 1, you see it's right at $71,678 increase. Option 2 is actually a decrease of $7,000 to the city.
But no, what, to the employee?
Oh, go back to the previous slide.
Right.
Yep. So you can see each tier, what it would look like. So on the bronze plan, someone's paying 30 now per paycheck, 30 a month, it would go to 40 for employee plus one. Employee plus family would go from 50 to 60, so $10 a paycheck. The silver plan, they're paying $12 for single, it would go to 15. The employee plus one would go from 77 to 90, and then family would go from 97 to 110. And then you see the gold plan as well, 44 to 60, 144 to 170, and 164 to 190.
Okay, so if we did option one, the renew the plan with no change, don't affect the employee contribution, what's that cost to the city?
It's call it a $72,000 expected increase, or 1.26% increase.
Okay. Any other questions? I'd like to see us not take the recommended option and go with option one that would cost the city the extra $72,000, but would not change the employee contribution. Bet I do. All right. Is there a second? Are there still questions?
I don't have any question, I second that.
All right. Motion is second. We understand what we're doing. Everybody? Any discussion? Other questions?
I do have a quick question. For that extra $72,000, we have that built into the budget to cover that.
That is what we're working on at this point in time. You will be presented with the draft budget per our budget schedule. Yeah, we'll present you something. We're working on a balanced budget right now. We're not quite balanced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, so, okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, would staff go over why your recommendation is option 2 versus option 1?
Yeah, Mr. Leggett is right. Mr. Leggett, staff and our HR team, we did sit in the conference room, and we understand the value of benefits. We were trying to balance a budget. It's going to be tight. You know, you've heard me say that during the millage rate hearings. And, you know, in the big picture, I get it. I understand $72,000 isn't a lot for a $35, $38 million budget. But we are seeing a lot of migration from spouses that previously had insurance at other places, at their place of employment. And since we haven't increased our employee contributions or changed our benefit structures in about 5 years, we're now seeing everyone come to our plan. And what we were thinking we were going to do, and we appreciate the support, you know, that's the way council vote, thank you very much. But we were trying to make a small move periodically so that we're not in a position maybe in 2 or 3 years to where we're in front of you needing to make a huge move. But that was our line of thinking. Ms. Craver, Ms. Kelsey, you have anything else to add to that?
No, sir.
Okay, well, just a follow-up question on that. So, and I appreciate your recommendation of option 2. So I would assume that you have a good pulse of the staff, and your recommendation of option 2 would not create a morale or departure or something like that, or?
Well, I think we've got to look at the totality of what is initially recommended in the budget. I mean, depending on the pay raise number that we can put in the budget and how much it's offset by potential increase or a smaller pay raise, it's all offset by the health insurance contribution. I think we're also going to be coming to you and asking for a change in some of the vacation policy, for a little bit better vacation policy for our employees. So we're trying to throw a total package in the proposed budget that benefits the employee but doesn't overly burden the budget. So again, if you vote 7-0, we're going to support that, and we'll present you or not to option 1, not to increase. We'll work that into the budget and give you something that we think you'd be proud of in the budget.
I think all of us are just acutely aware of every dollar that inflation has hit, you know, through the last years, and when there's an increase in the price of everything that's gone up, and I just don't want to see us do that at this time.
We support that.
Maybe next year, we're leveled out a little bit more, and we've got that opportunity to do that, but I'd like to see us, and we do have a motion and a second to approve that. So, any other discussion?
Well, I just had one other question was, I'm sure that during discussion, instead of, and I can appreciate, all that, trust me. And look at going kind of like an option 1.5 is what if you just across the board, like a $5 increase. So it's that increase without being so huge, but it would address that question, in a couple of years, having to do a larger increase. Again, making it more manageable without, it would make the budget a little bit more balanced.
Well, to answer your question about an across-the-board equal, when Mr. Leggett talked about the GO plan being our richest plan and the plan that's running the hottest, and you can see why the employee contribution is larger on that plan, because it's a very rich plan. And it's a very expensive plan to maintain. So our strategy was, if we want to maintain that plan, if you want to stay on such a rich plan, it should probably cost you more of an increase than it does to stay on the other two plans. So if I were given the option of either 5 across the board or no increase at all, I would probably support the no increase at all.
Yeah, or I'm just saying 5 across, but, something like a proportional, kind of like what you've done, but just at a smaller rate.
Okay, any other comments?
I have a comment, just to piggyback on what the mayor said. Here's why I'm supporting what for no increase is because we keep giving raises, but if we're going to give a raise and then take a big chunk of it back to cover insurance costs, we have to have a way to offset that, and that's why I'm supporting that option for that very reason. It's just too obvious. We can't keep taking stuff away and charging more.
Anyone else? I'll call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
No.
Motion carried. Okay. On to the next item. The next one is the presentation of the 2025 Newnan Center budget. Ms. Shellman, how are you this evening?
I'm good. Thank y'all for having us. Before you have our 2025 budget submission, which was approved by our authority at our last meeting. So I'm just here to entertain any questions or concerns that you may have for this year's budget.
Any questions of Ms. Shellman? Hearing no questions, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, we approve the budget as presented for the Newnan Center for 2025. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda tonight is consideration of a consultant services for stormwater infrastructure inspections. Mr. Clark, how are you, sir?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I am coming before you to ask you to consider authorizing a task work order under a master service agreement we have with Integrated Science and Engineering for the purpose of completing our current year and the remaining prior year stormwater infrastructure inspections. A little bit of background. We have a stormwater management plan that is approved by the EPD, and in that plan, there are a number of BMPs that we are required to complete and document and report annually to stay in compliance in order that Newnan Utilities can withdraw water and we can discharge stormwater to the waters of the state. One of those BMPs is our stormwater infrastructure, and you'll see there's a couple of maps up there, and I'll get to that in a second. The permit period is for 5 years. We write our permit the way we want it to look, and they approve it, our plan, and they approve it. And we took the approach we would do 20% of our infrastructure annually to complete 100% in 5 years. Where we're in year 2 of the 5-year plan, so we've got another 3 years out in front of us, and we're coming to the conclusion that our resources are stretched and we're looking for some help. So we put some details in there to show you that not only have we don't have the staff that we had when we first began the program, we also have increased our infrastructure significantly. I put the numbers in there. The individual structures is up 41%, and the miles of storm pipe is up 36%. So as I mentioned, the erosion control inspector had been responsible for all of the inspections. Since the beginning, he has taken on the role given to us by the EPD for erosion control plan reviews. So he's now doing all of the plan reviews, inspections, reports, rain events, and everything that goes on with the erosion control, and he's taxed. So one thing that I want to point out is that we've always been in compliance. Mayor Brady gets the letter before we do. He gets our comments. They always give us comments. We work through the comments. We've been dinged now on, you know, you are behind, how are you going to catch up? You know, we're still in compliance, but they're noticing it and we're noticing it. So tonight I'm asking that we enlist the services of an integrated science and engineering to help us make up and catch up for this year. It's you can see the maps. The red is the increase, and this one is the units. I believe that's, I can't read it. Is that the structures?
Structures.
And then Ms. Shea, if you'll show the other one, you can see how we've increased. The red there is the increase in miles of pipe. So we have quite a bit increases over the years. It's a unit price. We've estimated the number of units that we need at $9, and it came to 33,000. Let's see here.
39
That, and that includes project management. But one thing that this will also do is they do this for 26 different municipalities, so this is not unusual. They are going to come in and work with our GIS department, and we're going to create more of an automated recording and work order generation, that when they do find some situations that need repairs or maintenance, it'll automatically generate a work order over to the Public Works Department to see if it's something they can handle, or if we need, you know, to contract for that work as well.
Well, certainly using a third party at $39,000 for this is a lot less expensive than hiring someone
Yes,
and
sir.
buying a truck and all the other things that come along
Plus
with
the
that.
expertise
So-
that they bring to it.
Exactly. So, I entertain a motion we approve.
So moved.
Second.
Unless you have anything else, Mr. Law.
I have two.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, so the contract, it builds in for future potential growth also, that they'd be able to inspect. for
Well, this is
future-
just to take us through the end of this year and get us caught back up again. We
Gotcha.
can talk about that again next year.
Okay. And then,
I just did want to point, this is not in the budget, so this will require a budget amendment down the line.
okay, and then I had a question on their task order form, I think it was. They said they're gonna upload it to the Esri Field Maps application. Is that necessary to have, I mean, I don't know where all that goes. I mean, could it just stay in-house?
Well, that's just the system for maintaining the mapping, the records. We're required to maintain a map of our system and identify each structure with a unique number. And it's just for documentation and tracking the condition of it and the maintenance that we do to it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I have a motion second. Any other questions, comments? We'll call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moody, I believe you're up with the consideration of review of submissions for grant writing and administrative services related to the Community Home Investment CHIP Act.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So if you will recall, back in June, I came before you to request the ability to pursue a CHIP grant and the procurement of a contractor to write the grant application and administer consulting services during the duration of that grant. So before you, you will see the RFP and a letter that states kind of what the guidelines of reviewing these proposals looks like. But according to the DCA policy set forth in the CHIP grant, as the governing body, it is advised that the council serve as the review body to establish who will be the contract. Excuse me. Sorry, it's time to take my medication. But the council, as the governing body, should serve as the review body. This does take it out of staff's hands. So with this package, we have provided to you a summarization of what the two responses are, as well as the bid tabulation. So if you will take a look at that, I'm here to answer any questions that the council may have about the two respondents, and then we can go forth with whatever the council's recommendation may be.
Council, any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion is second. We grant the request as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Moody. Anything else?
On Gilbert. Okay, so just to clarify, the recommendation to move forward is with Gilbert and Associates?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes,
Thank you.
recommendation. Right. Okay, the next item on the agenda is on page 2 is a public hearing. This is a rezoning request, RZ 2024-02 for 0.48 acres located at 65 Miller Farmer Industrial Boulevard, portion of tax parcel N57A091. And Mr. Smith, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you mentioned, this is a public hearing on this rezoning petition. This comes as a result of the last work session. One of the things, I guess, that kind of came up at that work session was a little bit of the zoning history on this particular piece of property. We did go back and do some research. As Mr. Sears had mentioned, originally the city had done an industrial zoning designation for a good chunk of this land. But in 1996, the current owners, the Thomases, came back and rezoned their piece to commercial. So this is more or less returning it back to an original zoning. A couple of illustrations just to give you some idea. There was, I think, some concerns about maybe that we didn't clearly illustrate the area that was the subject of this particular zoning. It is just a little over a half-acre piece. You can kind of see this illustration. The applicant also provided these illustrations as well. There's this piece right in the back. This is Coweta Pool and Fire here. This is the applicant, Mr. Dollar's business along here. You illustrated, you can see a variety of product and storage, which driving down the road is well shielded from current landscaping and buildings that don the bypass at present. Again, another illustration showing you a different view. This is just a layout showing you some of the businesses that are adjacent to it. The highlighted area is the area that we are talking about this evening. These are some photographs provided by the applicant looking over from their property onto the particular piece of land they're looking at acquiring. This is just a survey that was included as part of the rezoning application. And I think this is just another illustration showing you from a street view of the existing tree canopy and what's out there now. It will be used as part of the screening of the storage of product for this business. In going through these standards, we have 8 standards that we evaluate rezoning request, and we'll go through those for the purpose of entering into the record. The first one is the proposed use suitable in view of the zoning and development of adjacent and nearby property? We mentioned earlier that the adjacent nearby property is all zoned industrial, with the exception, I think, of one small component, which is this front part where You Dirty Dog is. That was rezoned to general commercial a few years back. So the proposed use is suitable in view of that standard. Will the proposed use adversely affect the existing use or usability of adjacent or nearby property? Since this property will be used by the applicant to add to its existing property for that purpose of providing more room for storage, it's really not having any adverse effect. It's just continuing the existing uses and is industrial use, which is complementary to the uses that surround it. So we found there's no adverse effect and it meets that standard. Are there substantial reasons why the property cannot or should not be used as currently zoned? Well, it can be used as currently zoned. There is a narrow pipe, maybe about 20 feet wide, of where it could be accessed, making it somewhat difficult perhaps, but it can be used for that purpose. But the fact that it hasn't been for over 30 years might suggest otherwise. But we find that it doesn't meet that particular standard because, yes, in theory, it can be used for commercial purposes. Will the proposed use cause an excessive or burdensome use of public facilities or services, including but not limited to streets, schools, water or sewer utilities, and police or fire protection? The answer is there will be very little impact on service provision. We did contact our service providers, and they all responded with they indicated little to no impact with this particular petition. Is the proposed use compatible with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan? The future land use map shows this property as business/office. However, it is directly next to land pros for industrial, so because the future land use map designates this as business office, it is not compatible with the intent of the comprehensive plan. Is the proposed use consistent with the purpose and intent of the proposed zoning district? The proposed use is consistent with that intention of heavy industrial. Is the proposed use supported by new or changing conditions that are not anticipated by the comprehensive plan? As you know, that was recently done in 2021, which included the future land use map. At that time, it was given that business office designation. So the recently completed updates to both the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan show that the proposed zoning is used not consistent with business/office. Does the proposed use reflect a reasonable balance between the promotion of the public health, safety, morality, or general welfare and the right to unrestricted use of property? We believe this request does present that balance. After the assessment, we found that it meets 5 out of the 8 standards that we use as codified in our zoning ordinance. We also suggested some other considerations. One is they would engage a surveyor to perform a combination plat if you all recommend approving this rezoning, to add this to the property. And secondly, that a 15-foot landscape buffer would be maintained and installed on the western 2 triangular points of the property boundaries as illustrated here. The Planning Commission had a public hearing August 13th, 2024. As a result of that public hearing, they recommended all the conditions we previously mentioned, and that the applicant would also need to maintain an adequate screening buffer, including the existing trees that, to screen the view of the container units from the Millard Farmer Industrial Boulevard. The Planning Commission did vote 5-0 to forward this to you with a favorable recommendation. And that concludes the staff report.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Smith? All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. This is an opportunity for the applicant or those people in favor of the application to come forward to speak. If you've got anything to say at this time. Thank you.
Did you guys have any questions for me?
That's a great way to put it.
I'm sorry.
We really appreciate that. Any questions from council regarding?
Let him state his name.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you'll state your name.
Robert Dollar.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Dollar? All right, this is also an opportunity for anyone opposed to the rezoning request to come forward and speak. This is your opportunity, if you're in opposition of this particular rezoning request, to come forward and speak. Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and ask for a motion from the council to accept the report and recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion is second. We accept the report and recommendation from the Planning Commission. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Now, motion to consider rezoning the property.
I make a motion that we rezone as proposed.
All right.
Second.
Motion is second, rezoning the property and adopting the ordinance. Any discussion?
One question.
Question?
We are accepting the staff's recommendations on, yeah, okay, excellent.
That's included in the ordinance, yes.
I have the last discussion was a lot about height and stuff like that. Would it be, if, maybe consider for putting a height restriction of?
No, I think if you go out there and look, he's got 30-foot pine trees already at least there that's on that property. You will not be able to see that.
But he said he could stack it unlimited,
Yeah, but,
theoretically.
I mean, his equipment, I think, goes 5 high, but right now, there wasn't anything but 4, and I don't see why we want to put height restrictions. I mean, you can, you know, it's not like it's a permanent structure. And if you look at what he does, he doesn't want to, they don't sit there very long, they move. So I just can't imagine we need to put a height restriction on it.
Okay. I do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. We appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening, Mr. Cole, I believe, is a consideration of a resolution to adopt the 2024 update to the capital improvements element of the CIE, which includes a short-term work program. How are you, Mr. Cole?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight to ask for your adoption of the short-term work program and capital improvements element for 2024. As you will remember, we've already had the public hearing, so it's good to go.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would entertain a motion, we adopt the resolution.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second, we adopt the resolution as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next, Mr. Craver, I believe, has a consideration for an alternative plan for the intersections of Jackson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Brady. Members of council, as Michael Clark approaches, who will then introduce Samir with Low Engineering, who you recall from the last time we gathered a little bit over 2 months ago. What you have here is response to the conversation we had collectively about the proposed Jefferson-Jackson-Clark intersection project. We left that meeting giving clear direction to Lowe engineers to come back, showing that they can maintain a dedicated north traffic pattern on Jefferson as it currently sits now, while also creating the two-way traffic pattern in front of 75 Jackson. And so they're here to do that. I'll turn it over to Mr. Clark to talk a little bit about that, but, and then introduce our guest who can show you the design, the updated design, and I believe we have an animated model if you'd like to see that as well. Hopefully today, out of this group and this conversation, we can make a decision on whether we like what's proposed, or we leave it as is. Those are two alternatives. Or a third option, we believe maybe make improvements maybe to signage only. So we as staff hopefully will help guide you as well as the engineer through a conversation to make that decision today.
Mr. Clark?
Thank you, sir.
Michelle, can you get that to show up on the, is it too big? Is it? The plan, the signal plan.
The one that was in the agenda, correct?
Yeah, just so I can. It's still going to be kind of small and I can't see it, but I've got, I've got one in front of me. So essentially from our work session that we held on May 24th, as Mr. Craver pointed out, we took the feedback, gave it back to Lowe engineers, and we asked them to do a couple of things. And one of them was to see if they could fit the continuous flow northbound Jefferson Street that we have now that exists. And if you look at the plan over there on the right, you'll see the yellow gore area, and then you'll see the white gore area just a little bit below it and to the right, and then that lane does fit in there. The yellow gore area is to make the left turns from Clark to continue on Jefferson Street, and it is a, what they call that, a high T. They're restricted by the gore area, but you can continuously flow. Now, you'll also see, and Samir can correct me if I'm reading this wrong, but you'll see the 3 red lines, and those will represent the mast arms for the signal configuration at that area right there. And there is one across Jefferson Street, and that would stop traffic for using the crosswalk. Where is it? Yes, you stop at the time that somebody wanted to push the button to cross Jefferson Street there. It would stop the traffic for that, and then give them time to clear the couple of lanes right there, and then it would start back up. It's similar at the other side. I don't know if you've ever noticed, it doesn't get used much over there. When you push the button across, the arrows go to red, which stops all the traffic so that you can make that cross. The other concern that you had was the 2 signals out there right now are controlled by more or less mechanical clocks, and the clocks tend to drift, which means the signals don't sync as they should. They can come out there and reset them, and over time they'll drift, and they lose a little bit of coordination. We can tie these together with fiber optics and use one controller to operate both signals, and so that concern should go away. And then you can see in that other intersection where the island's been removed, I believe that signal looks the same over there. You see the black, those are the mast arms, the configuration they would have as well. And then sort of in the background, you can see, and they're oriented, I think, in the direction of flow, the different traffic signs that would be overhead for each lane. And they're just more representative. I'm sure they could be detailed up a lot more. You know, if you wanted to move forward with just that part or incorporate that part with the overall plan. We can't go to GDOT until we know what it is we want to do. It's considered a signal permit, and they won't really review. We've been working with them, and we've been getting some feedback with them, and we've been trying to incorporate their comments in our design as we've moved along. It's been a number of years, but it will be a signal permit for the city, and we would submit to them to find out whether or not we would get actual approval for this. So if you have any questions for me, if you have any technical questions, Samir and his team are here from Lowe, and they can address those.
Mr.
On Jackson Street going south, it's got that yellow line down the middle. So is that eliminating the left turn lane?
No, there's a left turn lane, and that's there. I believe that, there's a gore area. It may be more of just a double yellow line, and it flares out a little bit, but the left turn lane is in there. I don't,
Because it
it's
doesn't,
existing.
it doesn't,
It's small.
it doesn't show it as a 3 lanes there where they have a north and south and a middle. Unless I'm blind.
It's there.
It's only
Okay, but it's
2
not
lanes.
shown. I mean, it's just,
Do we have the arrows in there? I think they were shown. I think they're there.
well, you tell me where they are.
You've got the
No,
black
no,
words
I'm talking
over the
about it
top
right
of it.
here. Right here.
That's the-
Where?
But you've got lanes everywhere else on the east and west, but you don't have a, just gonna show you what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, this is what I was concerned about.
You got a left turn lane
Same thing, still there.
and a straight lane here.
That's there, isn't it?
It is, we can't see it.
Zoom in and see what that is.
No, but I don't think we turned after,
And it can't.
you turned left after the,
It was in there before, though. That was the argument, right?
It is currently only 2 lanes.
Huh?
yeah.
It's currently only 2 lanes.
I know that, but you have other places where you have proposed lanes. On that one, you don't have any
On
proposed.
the original configuration that we saw a few months ago, it was shown as a 3-lane configuration. On this particular plan, as we reviewed it today, we believe it showed it back as a 2-lane configuration. as it
That was my
currently exists.
question.
Is that,
I do not remember showing a third lane.
I don't either.
Right away to the left turn lane in there. We could acquire, we could shift it, but we'll have to basically
Well,
repave the whole section.
It did show 3 lanes because there was conversations. Mayor Brady actually asked how you gonna fit 3 lanes in there, and there was conversations about how you could go to a narrower lane width. And I know Mayor Brady, he can speak for himself, but he had concerns that 3 weren't gonna fit, but now we're back to 2, it appears.
Well, 2 fit, because there's already 2 there.
Yeah.
So my question is, when we're looking at this, is this the same, if you're coming, south into town?
Bless you.
If you're coming south into town on Highway 29, is there still just 2-lane traffic there? One coming south and one
That's what it
going
is.
north?
So
There's
then,
there's no 3rd lane here.
but then you still can turn left at that point, and you would turn into the,
Yes.
above, you would turn before you get to that triangle
No,
piece of
here.
property with the poles.
So you could go south
okay,
or
but
turn
did
left.
we ever show a
Okay.
turn lane at one time?
That's,
But there's no right turn
I
lane
thought it
on
was
the
in there,
Clark.
but,
no, that's fine.
so that remains as is existing
Okay, that's what I was
in this
wondering.
plan here.
That-
I understand that. No, you sure? You sure that's, well,
Okay, so
I don't
what's
I've
council?
got that question. Where do you actually turn left then?
It's a shared through left. It will be a shared through left, so you don't have a separate left turn lane.
Just tell me, I don't understand. All right, if you're right here, and you want to go over here, are you gonna turn in front of this, or you gonna go here and turn?
This island won't be there.
This island would be, that's where I would be.
Yes, so you come down here and go straight to this.
Okay, you go past this one.
But it's one lane, both straight and left
Don't be going into somebody, don't head into somebody.
and right.
What we'll do is we can show some simulation models so they understand.
You want to plug in the simulation and see?
You want to see
Okay.
a model?
Please.
That-
There.
That's current. That's how it is today.
No, it's future, because you've got both, it's two-way on Clark.
Oh, it's, yes, it
Do you actually model based on data collection and forecasting? So
This is
so-
2041,
So the left turns are represented in there, the number required.
yes.
So based on actual traffic counts and forecasting, the left turns that would need, that, the movement for left turn is represented in there.
But it's not a three-lane road.
No, it's not a three-lane.
That was my concern. Period. That was gonna be a three-lane road, and without acquisition right away.
Oh.
It cannot be.
It's a historic neighborhood, and that's almost prohibitive over there.
One other thing too that happens, and I assume my technology is gonna be better, there's a setback, when you're coming south on Jackson, the place that you stop is set back from the intersection, 20 feet, whatever. Sure. And so right now, if you're sitting here, okay, if you're coming this way, that light triggers before this, if anybody hesitates, that light triggers, and you can't make it through that light if you're hesitating. One car leaves between you and the car in front, you cannot make it through that light without running it red, and people run it red like crazy. When you build that technology in, you allow the fact that it's sitting back here, this car is sitting here, and these cars are sitting on go, but this one's offset, so you've got to allow more time to clear that intersection.
Well, absolutely. Once we make the changes, we're gonna have to go back, make sure that the detectors for the whole system is set right, the signal timing's done right, and that they're coordinated with each other. So yes, 100%.
I agree, it's a short line. Okay, and again, you mentioned the fiber optic. So currently, when we get off sync, is that something you can do remotely, or is that an on-site visit?
We could do it remotely if you wanted to. You can pull in.
I mean, currently.
Currently, do you have cameras?
No, we can't do it remotely
Okay, so-
now.
So currently, it's an on-site visit to resync the things.
Yes,
Once we
sir.
go fiber optic, then where can we monitor it from?
Yes, sir, should be.
Now, the fiber optic, what we're recommending is between two signals, so that the clocks run concurrently.
Okay.
If you want to do it from a software, from your laptop or your phone or from the TCC, then those intersections need to be brought back in, which means it has cameras on it, there's logins, you have to, we can do it, but there's a different system for that.
Okay, 10-4.
All of the signals in the city of Newnan we're migrating to video detection. We have modems in all of our signals. They can be accessed remotely. These would still be GDOT signals, but that's certainly the way we can present it to them.
Okay.
To see if they're receptive, if they're using video detection and web-based control of the controllers.
It's become very cheap these days.
Mr. Clark, if we decide tonight, yeah, let's go ahead and continue the conversation, and so we can get enough information to where we've got a cost figure on this project, what's the next step?
The next step would be for, to get, if you accepted the cost figure and you blessed it, we would submit to the DOT for their final approval.
We've seen a cost figure. I don't remember a cost figure.
We've had some planning level cost figures.
They're not accurate. I need, whatever everyone else except here needs, I don't know, but I need an estimate of cost that's gonna be fairly accurate in
Yes, sir.
today's world. I know we've had some cost estimates, they are old, and we need to update those. But my question was, do we go to DOT for them to bless this plan before we go out and get cost estimates, or do we do it the other way around?
No, we can develop a cost estimate as a design cost estimate. It wouldn't be a bid cost estimate, but it would be a design cost estimate.
I'm interested in both. How do you?
You gotta bid it.
Tell me the process, the sequence, so we get a design cost estimate, and then we take that to DOT, or tell me what the process is, the step-by-step process going forward tonight.
I don't
If we say
know.
we want this,
I don't know that DOT, do they require a cost estimate? They don't
Okay.
require, that would be for us,
so we would get DOT stamp of approval first.
for the design.
For the design.
Right.
Go out for a cost estimate on the design, approve that contract, and then after that, they can establish the construction cost. Is that correct?
No, we're 100% local on this project. It would be our our
No,
contract.
I mean, from the design concept, we'll be able to establish our cost estimates,
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay,
Yes.
and go out at that point. So we have two more steps of approval in this process, is what I'm trying to get at. Is the design concept, approve that to go out to bid, correct?
Yes.
And then after that, come back in with cost estimates.
Now,
For
now,
bid.
Samir's firm can prepare a consulting cost estimate, and we can also talk with our contractors and let them give us some feedback on that, if that would be, if you would like to have that. That's not bid, but it's talking to the people that normally, and I'm sure you all have,
Well, we've actually talked to contractors, because, for example, 2 years ago, a signal cost $180,000, now it's $300.
Right,
And so it's constantly changing, so we keep up with the contractors.
right. Okay, I just want the council to know what we expect to pay here,
I think I'm
rather than what we've heard in the past, which is not a good number.
I think the next step, let's come back with the design cost estimate.
Please.
And if you're comfortable with that, then authorize us to submit for permit
That's
for
correct.
GDOT.
Yep.
Then we will go to bid. And at that point in time, if you're not
Make a
happy
decision.
with the bids, you deny the bids.
Okay,
So you're gonna get a cost estimate to get an understanding, but we won't know the real until we go to bid. So that's what I would suggest. We'll come back with cost estimate, go for permitting, go to bid, and come back to this body for award.
okay. I just don't want us spending money on this if GDOT is gonna say no.
No, we'll get their permission first, we'll get.
Okay, that's what I'm after. All right, good, thank you.
I have one other
All right,
quick question. I know the last discussion was quite a bit of discussion about a sidewalk coming out of town, going around by the cemetery. Is that still built in there, or is not,
Well,
or what was?
I'm glad you asked that, because right now, in order to put that through lane, we're gonna take the sidewalk. That sidewalk's not being used right now. It's right abutting a wall, and then you have the cemetery. But there's about 20-25 feet of right-of-way that's still available behind the wall. So if we're gonna put that lane in, we're gonna have to shift the wall, do a little bit of grading and shift the wall further back, if we needed to put a sidewalk in.
The cemetery wall.
Correct.
But nobody walks on that sidewalk. It'd be
Nobody- we
dangerous
haven't
to
seen a
do it.
pedestrian out there.
Yeah, there are, but if it's gotta happen. Okay, so I need a motion here to,
Make a motion, we go forward with getting a design cost where we can forward it to the DOT.
Second.
motion is second. Everybody understand the motion? Okay? Any discussion, questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark. The next item is an update on the status of the Distilled Spirits Package Store license at 109 Bullsboro. Gentlemen, if you'll come and state your name for the record, and then I just have a comment before you begin.
Rocky Singh,
Mr. Singh, we appreciate you being here this
Mr.
evening.
Indicator.
And we more than appreciate you being here. We appreciate the email you sent earlier today to Mr. Phillips. He shared that with all of us. All of us have seen those pictures and understand your soft open date and your grand opening date. So I'm just gonna not ask you to make a presentation here tonight because we understand how close you are. I'm just gonna give you an opportunity with the newspaper present here tonight to give an announcement of when you're gonna open your store. How about that?
Okay, we're opening up Beverage Vault finally, long time waiting. It's gonna be October 2nd. We'll be doing our soft opening. And then we'll be doing a big grand opening October 5th.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you,
And
guys.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate that very much. Okay, tonight, under visitors, this is a request from College Temple Neighborhood for the annual Halloween street closures. Is there a motion?
Second.
Second.
Motion to second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. The next is a request from Foundation Church for 3 parking spaces during the Munchkin Masquerade on October the 31st. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We approve. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. I don't think we have any reason for an executive session this evening, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second to adjourn. Is, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're adjourned.